All right. So let's jump right into this deep dive.
Yeah.
You brought us something really unusual.
Yeah.
It's been, what, like over a month now?
Over a month.
Of this unexplained drone activity.
Mm.
And, you're obviously, you're concerned.
Right.
And what's really kind of got your attention is that, the authorities are staying completely silent on this.
Yeah, absolutely.
And you believe these drones could be U.S. military, potentially on the hunt for a hidden nuclear weapon?
Yeah, it's definitely a chilling thought, and I understand why you'd be worried about that.
Absolutely.
Especially with the lack of information coming out officially.
Totally. So let's kind of break down what we know from your notes, all right?
Okay.
You believe that the drones are American because they haven't been shot down.
Right.
And you're kind of connecting this to the possibility of them searching for a nuclear weapon, potentially hidden somewhere, and maybe even intended for detonation in a major city like New York.
Yeah.
Perhaps on, an important date like New Year's Eve.
Yeah. No, those are some serious concerns.
Right.
And while we are, working with limited information here,
Right.
and it's important to emphasize that
Of course.
everything we discuss are possibilities.
Sure.
Not confirmed facts. Let's explore those potential scenarios.
Sounds good.
Yeah.
You mentioned in our prep notes that, the initial assumption, and probably what a lot of people would think, is that this is just some kind of routine military operation.
Exactly.
Right.
The U.S. military does use drones extensively for testing and surveillance.
Right.
And they often don't disclose details to the public for strategic reasons.
Understandably.
Yeah.
But you're saying that explanation is becoming less and less likely the longer this goes on.
Exactly. You have to consider that if this were a routine operation, the government would likely have offered at least some kind of statement.
Right.
To ease public concern.
To avoid panic, right?
They don't want widespread panic.
Yeah, of course.
Right.
That makes sense. So what are we looking at then? What's the most likely scenario in your view?
Well, looking at the facts that we have,
right.
the prolonged duration, the absolute silence from officials, and the reports of people actually shooting at the drones.
Oh, wow.
It points towards something much more covert.
Okay.
It's highly probable, maybe 85 to 90% likely, that these drones are a part of a clandestine intelligence operation related to a serious national security threat.
Okay, hold on.
Yeah.
Before we go any further, I think it's important to define some terms here, all right?
Right.
You keep mentioning national security threat, but what exactly does that mean?
You're right. It's a broad term.
Yeah.
Essentially, a national security threat is anything that poses a significant danger to the country's people, infrastructure, economy, or government.
Okay.
It could be anything from terrorism to espionage to the proliferation of weapons of mass destruction.
Weapons of mass destruction.
Yeah.
That brings us back to your earlier point about the drones potentially searching for a nuclear weapon.
Exactly. And to be clear, WMD doesn't just mean nuclear weapons.
Right.
It also includes chemical and biological weapons.
Got it.
Which can be equally devastating.
Right.
Now, the fact that people are shooting at these drones, well, that's a huge red flag, right?
Yeah.
That suggests that whoever the drones are surveilling are aware of the surveillance and are actively trying to stop it.
Wow.
This implies that they are involved in something that they want to keep very hidden.
Okay, so we've got a covert operation, potentially related to a WMD. What are some of the possibilities here in terms of what they might be looking for?
Well, it could be a number of things.
Right.
One possibility is that they're searching for hidden weapons within the U.S.
Okay.
Maybe nuclear or chemical weapons that have been smuggled in or being transported.
Okay.
Think about the implications of that.
Oh, gosh.
A nuclear device being smuggled into a major city. Right.
Let's not even go there.
It's a disturbing scenario, but we have to consider all possibilities.
Of course, of course.
Another possibility is that they're monitoring terrorist or extremist groups that are planning an attack.
Yeah.
Or maybe it's something completely different, like, like individuals involved in smuggling dangerous materials. It could be, it could be a whole network of threats that we're not even aware of.
Wow, that's a lot to consider. You mentioned smuggling a couple of times now.
Yeah.
Are there any historical examples of something like this happening, like a WMD actually smuggled into the U.S.?
There haven't been any confirmed cases of a WMD being successfully smuggled into the U.S.
Okay.
And detonated. Right. Security measures have foiled attempts.
Right.
But that doesn't mean it can't happen.
Of course.
Right.
Right.
And remember, history is full of surprises.
Very true. So if we consider that this is a covert operation, are there examples of successful covert operations in the past that might give us some insight into what's happening here?
There are many examples of successful covert operations. Right. But the details are often classified for national security reasons.
Of course.
Think about the raid that killed Osama bin Laden.
Right.
That was a highly successful covert operation that involved, years of intelligence gathering and planning.
Right. So it's not out of the realm of possibility that something similar is happening here.
Right.
But with drones instead of special forces.
Exactly. And it's important to remember that covert operations are subject to oversight.
Okay.
And legal frameworks.
Right.
To prevent abuse of power.
Right.
There are checks and balances in place.
Right.
To ensure that these operations are justified.
Right.
And conducted within the bounds of the law.
It's reassuring to know.
Yeah.
But it still leaves us with a lot of unknowns.
It does. Yeah. But even with the limited information we have, we can start to connect some dots.
Sure.
And form a clearer picture of what might be happening.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Okay, so we've kind of laid out some potential scenarios here.
Right.
And I have to admit, some of them are pretty unsettling. But before we get too carried away with what ifs and all that, let's shift gears a little bit.
Okay.
And talk about something you have a bit more control over, all right?
Right.
Your own preparedness.
Yeah. That's
while we can't control...
a great point. Yeah. While we can't control what's happening with these drones or what the government is or isn't doing, we can take steps to be prepared for any potential outcome.
Exactly. So let's talk about some practical advice, all right?
Okay.
What are some things you can do right now to feel a bit more in control of this situation?
The first and most important thing is to stay informed.
Okay.
But be discerning about your sources.
Right.
Stick to official channels.
Right.
Like government websites.
Okay.
And emergency alert systems.
Right. Right.
And when it comes to news.
Yeah.
Focus on reputable sources with a track record of accuracy.
So basically, avoid sensationalized stories or unverified information.
Right.
Don't go down that rabbit hole of conspiracy theories and that kind of stuff.
Exactly.
Right.
Those can really amplify anxiety without providing any real value.
Sure, sure.
Next, familiarize yourself with evacuation routes and shelter locations in your area, knowing where to go and what to do in an emergency can save lives.
Easy to overlook those things, I think, when you're not actively facing a crisis.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
And this is where having a well-stocked emergency kit comes in handy.
Right.
You should make sure your kit has all the essentials.
Right.
Water, non-perishable food.
Yeah.
A first aid kit. Flashlights, batteries, and any necessary medications.
So it's about being prepared, not panicking.
That's a good way to put it.
Right.
Yeah.
That's good advice. Now, I know you've touched on this a bit already, but can we talk a little bit more about the potential impact of a WMD?
Right.
I mean, what kind of damage are we talking about here?
Well, the impact of a WMD detonation would depend on several factors.
Yeah.
The type of weapon, the size of the explosion, and the location of the attack.
Of course.
But to give you a sense of the scale,
Yeah.
we're talking about potential devastation.
Right.
That could include widespread destruction, radioactive fallout,
right,
long-term health problems,
right,
and mass panic and disruption.
It's hard to even wrap your head around the sheer scale of something like that.
Yeah, it really is.
Right.
And while the likelihood of such event is hopefully very low,
sure,
it's important to understand the potential consequences.
Absolutely.
It underscores the importance of preparedness.
Right.
And taking these threats seriously.
Absolutely. But I think what's really weighing on our listener and on many of us, frankly, is the psychological impact of this whole situation, right?
Right.
The not knowing, the potential for something truly awful to happen.
Right.
It's a lot to process.
Yeah, it can definitely get under your skin.
It can.
Yeah. You're right.
Right.
And it's crucial to acknowledge those feelings.
Sure.
Don't try to suppress your anxiety or fear.
Right.
It's a normal response
to
an abnormal situation.
Yeah, for sure.
In fact, a little bit of anxiety can actually be helpful.
Right.
in keeping us alert and motivated to prepare.
So we shouldn't be afraid to feel afraid.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Trying to bury those feelings can actually backfire and make them worse.
Right.
Instead, acknowledge them. Okay.
Talk about them.
Right.
And find healthy ways to manage them.
Okay. So what are some healthy ways to deal with the anxiety and fear that come with a situation like this?
One of the most effective things you can do is simply talk to someone you trust.
Right.
A friend, a family member, a therapist, anyone who can provide a listening ear and a supportive presence.
Right.
Sharing your concerns can lighten the burden and provide a sense of perspective.
It's like that saying, a problem shared is a problem halved.
Exactly.
Right.
And don't underestimate the power of self-care, engaging in activities that bring you joy.
Right.
Reading, listening to music, spending time in nature can help restore a sense of balance and well-being.
It's about finding ways to center yourself amidst the chaos.
Precisely. And there are also practical things
you can do to manage anxiety. Practicing mindfulness techniques like meditation or deep breathing can help calm your mind and reduce stress levels. Exercise is another great way
of course.
to release tension and boost your mood.
So it's really about taking a holistic approach.
Absolutely. Yeah.
Addressing the mental and the emotional side of preparedness.
Right.
As well as the practical side.
It's about finding that balance between staying informed and taking action.
Right.
But also making sure you're taking care of your own well-being in the process.
It makes sense, I have to admit, though.
Yeah.
Thinking about this whole situation, the unexplained drone activity, the potential for a hidden weapon, the government's silence.
Right.
It almost feels like we're living in some kind of dystopian novel.
I understand where you're coming from. Yeah.
It's definitely a stark reminder that the world can be a complex and unpredictable place.
For sure.
And while we strive for security, there will always be risks we can't fully control.
But doesn't that make you wonder if these drones are searching for a hidden threat?
Right.
Does that mean we're living in a world where dangers like this exist undetected all the time?
That's a profound question.
Yeah.
And the answer is, unfortunately, yes.
Right.
The world has always had hidden dangers.
Yeah.
But the nature of those dangers and our awareness of them is constantly evolving.
It's almost like we're constantly playing catch up. Right?
That's a good way to put it.
Yeah.
And it's why staying informed and being prepared is so important.
It also makes you think about national security in a whole new light.
Yeah, it does.
Right.
Yeah.
And the role of technology.
In both protecting us and surveilling us.
It's a double-edged sword.
Right.
Technology can be used for good or for bad.
Of course.
And we need to be aware of both its potential and its limitations.
Right.
We can't rely solely on technology for our safety.
Sure.
We also need to be aware of the potential risks and unintended consequences.
So it's about finding that balance between leveraging technology for our benefit and being mindful of its potential downside.
Exactly.
Right.
And it's also about recognizing that that true security comes from a combination of factors.
Right.
Technological advancements, intelligent policies, and an informed and engaged citizenry.
It's a multi-layered approach.
Yeah.
Now, before we move on, can you talk a little bit more about the drones themselves?
Yeah.
I mean, what kind of technology are we talking about here?
Right.
What are they capable of?
That's a great question.
Yeah.
The drones being used in this situation are likely advanced unmanned aerial vehicles or UAVs.
UAVs. Okay.
They could be equipped with a variety of sensors and payloads depending on their mission.
Right.
Some common types of sensors include electro-optical sensors.
Okay.
These are basically cameras that capture images in the visible and infrared spectrums.
Okay.
Allowing the drones to see in various light conditions, including at night.
Okay.
Synthetic aperture radar.
Okay.
Or SAR.
Okay.
SAR uses radio waves to create images of the ground, even through cloud cover or foliage.
Oh, wow.
This makes it useful for detecting objects or activities that might be hidden from view.
Makes sense.
Signals intelligence sensors.
Okay.
Or SIGINT sensors.
Got it.
SIGINT sensors can intercept and analyze electronic signals, such as radio communications, radar emissions, and even cell phone signals.
So these are not your average hobby drones, right?
Definitely not.
Okay.
These are sophisticated machines that can gather a lot of information from a safe distance.
What about their range and endurance? I mean, how far can they fly?
Right.
And for how long?
That would depend on the specific type of drone.
Okay.
But some of the more advanced military drones can fly for thousands of miles.
Thousands of miles? Wow.
And stay aloft for days.
Days.
Yeah.
Wow.
Some are even capable of refueling in midair.
Refueling in midair.
Yeah, gosh.
Extending their missions even further.
Wow, that's impressive.
It is.
And a little bit intimidating.
Yeah, but it's important to remember that technology itself is neither good nor bad.
Sure.
It's how it's used.
That determines its impact.
Right. You know, it's fascinating to think about all the tech involved here and just how sophisticated these drones really are.
Right.
But I feel like we've covered a lot of ground here.
We have.
And I want to make sure we bring it all back to you and what this all means for you, right?
Yeah.
It's one thing to discuss, possibilities and the scenarios and all this.
Right.
But how do you actually deal with the uncertainty?
Yeah.
And the anxiety of a situation like this, right?
That's a key point.
Yeah.
It's easy to get swept up in the what ifs, but ultimately it comes down to finding a balance. You know, you've got to stay informed, but also protect your own peace of mind.
So it's not about ignoring the potential danger, but also not letting it consume you.
Exactly. It's about empowering yourself with knowledge and taking practical steps, but also recognizing,
you can't control everything.
It's a bit like walking a tightrope, right? Okay, I like that analogy.
Yeah.
So let's talk about that tightrope walk.
Okay.
You know, we've discussed practical preparedness, things like emergency kits and evacuation routes and all that. But what about the mental and emotional side of things?
Well, one of the simplest yet most effective things you could do is simply talk about it.
Right.
Share your concerns with someone you trust.
Right.
Whether it's a friend, family member, or even a therapist.
Right.
Voicing those worries can help take some of the weight off your shoulders.
It's like that saying, a problem shared is a problem halved.
Precisely. And remember, you're not alone in feeling this way.
Right.
Chances are many people are grappling with similar anxieties.
Sure.
Sharing those feelings can create
sense of connection and mutual support.
That makes sense. But what if What if talking isn't enough?
Sure.
Are there other things you can do to
Absolutely.
to manage that that feeling of unease?
Mindfulness practices can be incredibly helpful. Things like meditation, deep breathing exercises,
Right.
or even just spending time in nature can help calm your mind and reduce those stress levels.
It's about finding those moments of peace.
Exactly, amidst the uncertainty.
And don't underestimate the power of engaging in activities that you enjoy.
Right. Whether it's listening to music or spending time with loved ones, those little joys can make a big difference in how you cope.
It's about reminding yourself that even in the face of uncertainty, there's still beauty and goodness in the world.
You've hit the nail on the head. Right. And it's important to remember that we're all in this together, connecting with others, sharing our experiences, and supporting each other can create a sense of community and resilience that helps us navigate challenging times.
It's about it's about finding strength in unity. Right. Knowing that we're not facing this alone.
That's a powerful message. And it's a reminder that even though we can't control everything that happens, we can control how we respond. We can choose to focus on preparedness, on building community, and on fostering a sense of hope, even in the midst of uncertainty.
That's a great point. And it brings us back to that tightrope analogy. We can acknowledge the potential dangers, but we don't have to let them paralyze us.
Exactly.
We can choose to move forward with caution, awareness, and a commitment to both our own well-being and the well-being of those around us.
You've summed it up perfectly. Knowledge, preparedness, and a sense of shared humanity. Those are the tools we need to navigate this complex world.
Well, I think we've given you a lot to think about today.
I hope so.
And hopefully some tools and insights to help you feel more empowered in the face of this unsettling situation.
It's been a great discussion.
Yeah, I really appreciate you coming on and
of course.
And talking us through this.
And remember, even with all the unknowns, there's always room for hope and the possibility of a brighter future.
Well, that's a perfect note to end on.
It is.
Thank you for joining us on this deep dive into the unexplained drone activity. We hope you found it informative and, most importantly, empowering. Until next time, stay curious.
Stay safe.
Stay informed and stay connected.
Absolutely.
And remember, even in the darkest of times, there's always a glimmer of light.
That's right.
We just have to keep looking for it together.